Hey guys, it's GirlGotGame. Welcome back to London Detective Mysteria, where we are doing the first of many bad ends for our dear Jackie boy, Jack the Ripper. And this is the more traditional bad ending that we've seen in the other routes so far, or otherwise known as the ill-fated end. So yeah, we're going to start with this, and then we'll move on to wretched endings, which Jack is the only one to have. Wretched doesn't sound very promising, but anyway. We'll worry about that later. Right now, we are in the last chapter, going on our little tour of all the murder places. And this time, we are going to hurry on. I need to hurry, or we won't reach each location before dawn. Alright. Hurry on again. There wasn't any time to waste. I had to keep going. Once we do all of this, I'm going to see how far the affection is dropped by doing all of this. There wasn't any time. The thought alone that Jack the Ripper could be close by, seeking my life, and only that filled me with impatience. I had to keep going. I suppressed the dread building within me as well as I could. On the outside, I was calm. And lastly, that was when a loud bang came from outside. I didn't even have time. So, status report. That didn't drop that much. All in all. Alright. So, what happens now? They still came and rescued us. Alright. Where are we? Oh. New chapter time. Moving on. It's its own self-contained chapter. Honor immortalized. That sounds ominous. Hello, Bradley. It's been a hot minute.
Well. I ain't seen your mug in a while. But it's not a pleasant night for a romantic stroll now, is it? Bradley! I did have the sense there was something disagreeable sneaking about. So you followed us? Sure did. Don't take much to find you with your skills lacking. I would say the same of you. What happened to the Bradley who would have had her throat cut before I arrived? So you're Miss Whiteley, ain't you? I've seen you mind yourself bait to draw me out.
Yes, and I've done just that.
It's good and funny. Your tops are all so blind to the way the world really works that you boast your ignorance. But if it makes you feel like a good gal, I won't deny the fantasy. I'll have a good time ripping you anyway, judging by your thighs.
A silver flicker caught my attention near the bottom of his sleeve.
Get behind me, Emily. He means to target you first.
Be careful.
I will. He won't get the best of me.
I complied, and as I moved into the background, Jack stepped before me to face our common enemy.
Look! Up there! That's Miss Whiteley and Jack Millers?
Why, he should be locked up in the Tower of London. What in God's name is he doing here?
I don't know. I can only assume he's broken free of his cell, but it was on the top floor.
That other boy has a knife in his possession. So there is more than one Ripper. I wouldn't be so quick to jump to conclusions. From where I'm standing, Jack Millers is trying to protect Miss Whiteley.
I can't argue that, but whether he is or isn't doesn't change that she's in danger. Rescue Miss Whiteley and apprehend those boys. And prioritize her safety above all else. All remaining officers, seal off the area around Dorset Street.
Sir!
And so I watched the officers of Scotland Yard disperse.
Can I come with you, Ryan? They're both very dear friends of mine. Of course. With me, then.
I can't skip, right? No, I cannot. Okay, because it's his own chapter. I'm just like, it's playing out very similarly so far.
Thanks! Me mum was one, you knew. Never learned her name. Just as well. A poor abandoned child like myself was only brought here to fuck and have more like me. Whores are the height of depravity. All I'm doing is granting him divine punishment. And when London is plunged into the depths of fear, the masses all turn their cogs aside, my lay. If only the police wasn't so inept. If only Her Majesty wasn't so inept. London ain't never have been what it's turned into today. The police? Inept? What rubbish. The whole country's full of themselves. They complain about this, complain about nonsense, complain about the police's ineptitude, whilst they sit in complete security. And who gave them that security? Just how many officers still spend their nights and risk their lives to protect them?
Jack narrowed the distance between him and Bradley.
Oh, forgot how you dream of being a copper. Over the moon you was when you got to attend Arrington, even if it weren't for more than a mission. Shut up! Pitiful babe. Shall never be a door ye can step through because you're a worthless child born from a rubbish heap in a slum. Colonel Morin finds you, hungry and parched, so he rise you as his own and you go twist the knife in his back. I know. I changed my mind. I shall blooming well kill you first. A sinner for killing the Colonel. A sinner for not killing her. A sinner for being born in this filthy squalid hole. It ain't too late to atone. So let me help you. This is how it should have been from the start.
The first move was Jack's, who swung his iron claws aggressively downwards at Bradley's feet.
You're too predictable.
Bradley's knife glided across Jack's throat, parting his skin at a clean arch from ear to ear. The blade cleaved through the air. Oh no. And in a similar arch did his blood spray. These bad endings usually aren't so fun. I know I was warned, but they're usually not so bad. What? What had I seen? I couldn't understand it. The scene played out much too fast. I'd been reduced to someone speaking bystander from the shock. Jack made no noise following the attack. The only indication of awareness were his eyes, wide open, but they were soon dull. No!
He talked awfully big, and yet that was the best he could do.
Bradley, elated beyond measure, went to target the body that had collapsed amongst its own splatter. It was only by some grace of God, perhaps, that this last act of desecration would not be done. Damn, it's getting shot to pieces. A thunderous noise drowned all other sound. Ah! The noise brought me back to my senses as I turned to see the police firing all at once towards a single target. Bradley. He was riddled with bullets in an instant. Without so much as a cry, he slumped to the ground. It was an anticlimactic death fitting for a boy of his horrific infamy. In some cruel, twisted line of thinking, it was as if Jack's own murder was the signal to fire. No! I merely continued to stand.
Emily! Are you alright?
Yes, I'm alright. But... Jax! I tried to appeal to Watson the tragedy I had seen in front of me. But it was too late to do anything about it. What remained of the scene were two bodies. The first, a corpse that seemed more red holes than skin. The second, Jack. A person, a human, who had been denied the closure of parting words. He'd also been denied the bad endings that the other boys got, where it's like, well, you know, they didn't quite fall in love, but maybe in a few years. It's like, nah, you are just dead. I'm like, what? I was expecting that from the wretched endings. If this is not a wretched ending, what are the wretched endings? Ah! Jack! Open your eyes! Oh God, please, Jack! Watson, you're a trainee doctor, aren't you? Please, help him! I beg you, save him!
Emily, it's...
I kneeled next to Jack's body and clung to it. It was warm, no different to how it was when he was still alive. He wouldn't move again. I didn't want to believe such a thing as I held him, but this heat would turn cold in time. Why, Jack? Was this what you broke free for? It can't be!
For him, this was more important than anything. If he could save you, then he was satisfied. Think of how much he struggled for it. Jack fulfilled the one thing he needed to most. I know it's hard, but go easy on the man.
Watson. I knew what he said was right. Jack had indeed kept true to his word. The price for this was a body that would no longer move. With no place for my frustrations, I needed only to accept the good that came of it. Jack, you saved me. You saved all of London, freed us from fear. Thank you. And goodbye, Jack. Night passed into day. I kept closely to my routine, morning paper in hand, and read its contents aloud for Pendleton to hear. Jack the Ripper returns to hell. His last moments were near Miller's Court on Dorset Street. Around 2 a.m., a man brandishing a knife appeared and was subsequently shot down by Scotland Yard's Inspector Lestrade and the brave officers under his command. This latest hunt was considered a success due to the assistance of Emily Whiteley, heiress of House Whiteley, a former target of Jack the Ripper's. The Yard did regret the loss of one young man of unknown origins, reportedly acting to save Miss Whiteley during a direct confrontation with the Ripper. This is a bit different to how I remember things. And treating Jack so dismissively doesn't sit right with me.
Agreed. The Holmeses and Watson played a significant role in the operation as well, but as far as this paper is concerned, the real heroes would, as is natural, be the police.
If Jack weren't there, I wouldn't be here. And the police would not have found the Ripper without him, certainly. Jack was the one who saved me, just as he said he would. I placed the newspaper back on the table. As I did, Alicia approached with news. My lady, you have visitors. Your friends, Master Holmes and Watson. Please, let them inside. As you wish.
Emily, how are you doing?
I'm well as I can be at any rate. What brings you two here so early?
My apologies for troubling you this morning. Watson wouldn't stop jabbering on and on about how worried he was for you, you see.
Ah, so you were very worried and couldn't sleep last night. I see.
Holmes, you didn't need to say that. Huh. Well, there it is. We then boarded a cab to come here.
You're both sweet. Thank you. Since you're here, how would you two like some of Pendleton's custard tarts?
No, thank you. Miss Hudson baked a mountain of ginger nuts just last night, and we've had more than our share. She seemed to have it in her head that we might not come home alive. So she spent the whole night sobbing her face raw, kneading dough by the oven to take her mind off of it.
Oh, the poor dear.
Right then. We've got a message for you from the inspector, Emily.
Do you? What is it?
Jack's funeral will be held tomorrow, so if we'd like, we can send him off to heaven.
Tomorrow, then. Yes, I shall be there.
Thought you'd say that. No one's been able to locate his father, and we don't know much about who he associates with outside of school.
I was his friend, and I owe him my life. I absolutely want a chance to pay my last respects.
Happy to hear it. Come to Highgate Cemetery at noon tomorrow, then.
Thank you. Will you two be attending also?
Of course we will. Now, we've some work to attend to relating to the case, so we'll be going.
All right. It was lovely to see you. She's taking this rather well. The next day was Sunday. I arrived at Highgate Cemetery.
We are gathered here today to pray for Jack Millers. He may now ease his weary bones and journey to the kingdom of heaven. Forever may he rest in peace.
This was followed by a reading from the Bible whilst those present offered their prayers. Each of us carried white flowers, which we then lay atop his casket. There were few in attendance. Holmes, Watson, Pendleton, and I made 4. Mr. Mackenzie and our schoolmates added a bit more to that. I did hear of the attempts made to reach his father, but these were met without success. The last group to complete the funeral were several police officers who lined up in front of his gravestone. I bore no ill will towards them, yet I couldn't help but think of how Jack contributed the most of anyone in this case, and how the world would never know.
All salute to Jack Miller's bravery!
And so they did, with a unified clicking of their heels and elegant motions which paid no less respect to Jack than it would have to one of their own. It's a terrible day for rain. Inspector, I'm so pleased you've come.
I wouldn't miss it. Jack Miller's is a guilty man in some respects. Still, we could learn a lot from the courage and wisdom he showed in doing what he believed to be right to the very end. In the end, it was our inadequate response which spawned so many deaths. And I don't speak of only those who lost their lives to the Ripper. Those who were suspected of crimes they did not commit and tormented by their peers. Those who feared stepping outside their homes. Those who came to distrust their friends and loved ones. In a sense, all of London bears scars from this affair. We are all victims. It's times like these when trusting one another is a difficult thing to do, and takes more courage than most realize. Courage you displayed without hesitation, Miss Whiteley, and your belief in him gave the same courage to us all.
Oh, no. To believe in him is hardly a noble act. Not when you compare it to what he did.
You mustn't dismiss your role in this. Your belief led to your protection, which further led to the protection of our city. Never forget that. And we shan't forget it either. I swear to it. Well, if you'll excuse me, I must be returning to my patrols.
Please do. Good day, Inspector. As they had done before for Jack, the officers paid us a kind salute. We did the same, clumsy as ours may have been. An hour passed since the funeral began, and this afternoon Sunday remained clear-weathered and bright. His last day on Earth came with peace. I would not forget Jack Miller's. The days will pass, but heroism must live on. Is that how that ends? Sheesh. Not even... I don't know. That's definitely, well, I mean, no surprise. Definitely my least favorite of the bad endings. Not because it wasn't bad. It was definitely the worst of the bad endings. It was bad. But aside from just kind of freaking out slightly when Jack initially got killed, Emily was not that bothered. She was just like, his noble sacrifice will be remembered for generations. I'll always remember him fondly as my friend. Like, she's not even... I know she doesn't cry. I know that. But... I don't know. If there had just been a scene where she is, like, mourning in her room. Because we have established that she cries when she's by herself. So she had come back from the funeral, and it was like, oh man, it was hard to maintain this, like, noble dignity that's, like, expected of me as someone of the nobility. But now that I'm home, you know, she kind of, like, grabbed his letters and read through them, and a couple tears escaped, or something like that. That would have made it more moving, but because of how nonplussed Emily was by it all, I was kind of just like, is he really dead? Am I gonna, like, see, oh, actually, it was a fake out, and he's now, like, one of the policemen on duty, or someone looks, like, very much like him in the crowd, I don't know. But it's like, no, he died, and we're like, have a good day, Inspector, see ya. I don't know. That was a weird one for me. It was kind of like, my boy deserves some grief over his passing. He got sliced and diced. Okay, he didn't get diced because Bradley got shot before he was able to do dicing, but he got sliced! And hardly any tears were shed. I think Watson may have grieved more than Emily. I'm like, huh? What? Alright. Well, there you go. That was the first. That was not a wretched end. That was just the ill-fated end. Now we go to the wretched endings. Whew. Alright, guys. I will see you there.